Today is Gittin, the last daf in our Masechet, leading us to Sefer Kedoshim, which is the last one in Sefer Nashim. Okay, the zikut of this learning bringing a fortune and Matana Gvura Yisrael Ben Miriam Sevitel Ratzi Kaivan Shana Leah Yaakov Eliezer Ben Shabbat Chaya Hadassah Ben Miriam Sibia Bashabat Adina Shida Rachel Yosefa Eliora רות בת נעמי רבקה ופצועת רוב הנחלים הגזורים מתוכם תנב נען משנת דבוריו בתוך שאר כל ישראל ולעילוי נשמת אסתר חיה בת ראובן חיה בת שחיים שחגה פריידל יהודיס בת אליעזר מרדכי דוד שמואל בן אהרון אברהם בן שמואל רב מנואל בצלאל בן אליהו הכהן דוד מיכאל בן רב מנואל בצלאל הכהן. And I am dedicating the shir to my uncle Jacques Yaakov ben Abraham who passed away this Shabbat.
When you pass away?
Shabbat.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Where he was in Paris?
In Paris, yeah. I'm going next week. I thought I had time. It's what it is. We don't make decisions. Okay, so we're starting at the Mishnah. So we're talking about now today what are valid reasons for a man to give his wife a get. בית שמאי אומרים, לא יגרש אדם את אשתו, אלא אם כן מצבה דבר ערווה. So as far as בית שמאי is concerned, the only reason why you can give a get to your wife is if you find her doing having relations with somebody else. שנאמר, כי מצא בעברת דבר. So because it's he found her in the midst of an immoral act. ובית הלל אומרים, אפילו הגדיחה תכשילו. So even if she's she burnt the dinner, שנאמר, כי מצא בערבת דבר, because it's it's something that is offensive. Okay, let's continue just a little bit. Okay, Rabbi Akiva Omer, afilu matza acheret na'a hemena. As far as Rabbi Akiva is concerned, he says, well, maybe it is that he found another woman who he likes better. Shene'emar ve'ahaya li imlo amatza chen be'enav. And so, you would not let it go that, to leave someone, if you found someone that actually you found grace to your eyes, then you would marry her. So one of the things is that it means more than just burning the food, right? It means that maybe she really doesn't get along with the husband, or maybe she doesn't really treat the children well. So Bet Hillel, we know that he's more makel. One of the things that he says, he doesn't want to embarrass the woman. So the reason for the divorce, for sure, is something that is more serious than just having burnt the food. But we're using this as an excuse. It's kind of what is it that she could have done? So it's representative of how it is that she actually treats her husband. If she had burned the food, she could have said, I'll eat the burnt food and I'll give you the good part, right? Or she could say, you know what, I made a mistake, but let's share here. The other thing that the part where there is an issue is if she says, you know what, I'm giving you the burnt food and I'm keeping the good part for myself. And then that's the kind of wives that one should actually divorce. So Rabbi Zonnenfeld says that if you have a situation where the husband is so angry, that actually is to the benefit of the wife to get the divorce, because you don't want to have a relationship where you have her being treated in a way that is really terrible. Okay, so let's examine what it is in between the machloket in between the Shammai and the Hillel, and how Rabbi Akiva is in the midst of this. Tanya. אמרו בית הלל לבית שמאי, והלא קבר נאמר דבר. So what is this דבר, right? It's kind of another reason. That's what it is. אמרו להם בית שמאי, והלא כבר נאמר ערוות. as far as Bet Shammai is concerned, he says no. He says, like, we're talking about like an immoral behavior here. And isn't this like the main reason why someone would actually divorce their wife? אמרו להם בית הלל, אם נאמר ערוות ולא נאמר דבר, הייתי אומר, משום ערוות תצא. It's like, if you say that actually there was, you're talking about having like moral, like, relations, but like another matter would not have been like, mentioned, then it's like we would say she needs to actually to get divorced for the reason that she has not behaved like properly. Mishum ervat. Okay, mishum davar lo tetse. If we're talking about just like she's done something offensive, she burnt the food, she like, she didn't take care of the kids, whatever it is, it's not reason enough to actually give her a divorce. Lechach ne'emar davar. So when we're like actually say davar, that means that like specifically that she's getting a divorce because she did something that was really offensive. ואילו נאמר דבר ולא נאמר ערוות, הייתי אומר משום דבר תנסה לאחר. So if we say actually that we're talking about a davar, but we're talking about ervat, and we're talking about davar, we're not talking about ervat, then we would say that the reason why she is being given a divorce is because she actually behaved like in an offensive manner. And in that case, we actually allow her to remarry. ומשום ערוות לא תנסה לאחר, but if actually she has been like caught in the middle of like, having an affair with another man, then she is not allowed to be married to another man, to like, her husband number two. לכך נאמר ערוות. So when it is that we're mentioning the fact that she has had an adulterous relationship, like here, and we actually like add the davar, then it's actually telling us that regardless of what it is that has happened, she is still allowed to get remarried. Uvet Shammai. So what does he say? He says that actually you can give like a divorce to a woman based on the fact that she has been found like, having illicit relations with somebody else. Hi, davar, my avela. So then, why is it that he's using like this word? What is that word davar? How is it that it fits in like to this equation? So we already know that she's had like a relationship with somebody else. So what else is it that she's doing? What is it indicating to us? Ne'emar kan davar, ve'ne'emar lehalan davar. So it's like it's a gzera shava. We have like the word davar in the pasuk that talks about the divorce, and we're talking about davar when it says al pi shne edim or al pi shlosha edim yakum davar. So here we're talking about the pasuk who's mentioning the fact that when you have someone who is in the midst of having like if you want to make sure that they have had like an illicit relation with another man, you need two witnesses. This is what actually this is bringing into it. Ma lehalan b'shnei edim. So just like we mentioned that if she's behaving in an improper way, you need two witnesses. Afkan b'shnei edim. Here also, like when it comes to testifying to the fact that she's having an adulterous relationship, then you need two edim to come, and so that would be the only way that the husband would potentially be able to give her a divorce. Ubet Hillel. So he says, okay, it's like he said that Davar says that you have like this situation where you had like she adultery and you have like the two witnesses. So why is it that you actually are saying that there's some kind of an offensive act that is like in the midst of this? Mi ketiv ervat b'davar. So it says that there's an adultery, And it's like, it's established by some kind of a statement. That's what davar is. Davar is like, a statement. So it's very ambiguous expression of like, ervat davar. Uvet shamai, mi kativ o ervat o davar.
You didn't say anything wrong, but Rashi points out because maybe it should have been written ervat bidavar or something like that. So the fact that it's not connected, it's the way that it's written. That's what we're learning.
Okay, thank you for like pointing this out. So uvet shamai, mi kativ o ervat o davar. It says like, either she has had an adulterous relationship or she has like behaved in an offensive manner. So then wouldn't it tell us that actually there would be two different situations that would lead for the husband to be allowed to give her a divorce. Ubet Hillel lehachi kativ ervat davar. So it's like, when it says adulterous davar, like, when it's like, it's ambiguous, because what is it bringing? The mashma achi u mashma achi. So what it means is that the davar is bringing the fact that in order for the husband to be able to give her a divorce, you need to have two witnesses to attest to the fact that she's behaved like, in an improper manner. And that's what is giving him the right to actually give a divorce to his wife. Rabbi Akiva Omer. So he's coming into here to give us another explanation about how it is that he's looking at it. Afilu matza acheret. So here he says, you know what? Even if he found another woman and he finds her more attractive than his current wife, there's like, there's no reason for him other than that to just give her a divorce. It's like, he wants to be with the other woman. So what is it actually that they're actually really arguing about? Because we see that Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel obviously are not in agreement with what Rabbi Akiva is saying. Bideresh Lakish. Okay. Bideresh Lakish. So we're going to bring in something that Resh Lakish actually uses on a regular basis. The Amar Resh Lakish. Ki meshamesh be'arba leshonot, I dilma ela deha. So it's like when you have the word ki in a sentence, it can mean four different things depending on the situation. It can mean if, that's I, dilma means perhaps, ela means but, and deha means because. Okay, so here we're going to see that the way that they're looking at it is, okay, well, let's Bet Shammai savre vehaya im lo timtza chen be'enav. So it's like, when we say, and it's like, if it is that like his wife is not like, attractive to him anymore, ki matzava ervat davar, ki in this situation. So that would mean that would be like deha, because he actually found her in like, he found her that she's in the midst of like an illicit relation.
Is really arts course to translate beha because
Yeah. Why? Why would you say?
Maybe you'll say you have second thought. They say because.
Very specifically because. Repeat it. Okay, and that's that.
You can't Rashi, very long Rashi. Long Rashi. He said, Ben says, maybe you will come to second thought. Ben Yomar Birachama, why I have to do all these things? And then that's what they don't give up.
Okay. I mean, that's
I'm just stunned by it, but it's okay.
Interesting. Okay. Rabbi Akiva Savar, ki matza va'ervat davar. So when he says, well, he found her like, in the midst of an adulterous relationship, what does it mean for him? I nami ba'ervat davar. So it's like, this if, it's like, and here it says it means if. if he had found her in the midst of like an illicit relationship. So that would be like that's E. Okay, so that's like the second possibility, and that's still like that would the fact that it's like that still allows him to give her like a divorce. So Amar le Rav Papa le Rava lo matzaba lo ervat velo dava. If you're looking at what the Hillel is saying, right? He's so this husband, like he doesn't like find his wife in the midst of like any illicit relationship, or he doesn't find her like to have like behaved in an offensive manner. But regardless, he decides to give her a divorce. So Mahu, what is the halacha in this case? Do we have like to actually like because it's no good reason for him to actually divorce her? Do we actually have to force him to actually like be married to her? Amarle migdale rachamana gabe ones. So it's like the Hakadosh Baruch Hu actually is telling us about like the story about like the Na'ara who is being raped. Lo yuchal leshalcha kol yamav. So not only he has to marry her, but he is not allowed to actually divorce her for the rest of his life. So it's like the fact that you have this specifically kol yamav be'amod be'achad zer kae. So it's like that's like actually like a very strong like statement that she's like that he's not allowed to divorce her whatsoever. Hatam hu degale rachamana. It's like in this case, like this guy is like the reason why he has to marry her is why, because like she's never going to be able to get married to anybody else because of what has happened to her, and so he wouldn't be allowed to actually divorce her because she needs like she would need to stay with him. Aval Acha, here in the story where the husband is just like getting decides to get divorced from her because he doesn't like the shirts that she's wearing. Like that's not like a valid reason. My de avad avad, and so whatever it is that regardless, whatever he's done, and he doesn't need to actually get married to her again. So it's like so, okay. Amar le Rav Marshia le Rava, im libo le garsha. So if the husband has decided he's gung ho, I am getting divorced, I don't want to be with this girl anymore. Vehi yoshevet tachtav umeshamashto, and she actually has no idea that that's his plan, right? I mean, he's been talking about it. He hasn't been talking about it. He's been thinking about it, right? Mahu. So then what happens actually if like they still are living together, they're having relations, and in his heart he's decided he doesn't want to be with her. Are they really allowed to be together? So what Rava is telling us is, well, we have this pasuk here. Al techarosh al ra'echa ra'a. It's like, do not look at like your friend in like this way. He shouldn't be silent. The husband shouldn't be silent. He should actually like let know of his intentions. And so he's like, he led you to believe that you're still in like a good relationship with him, when in reality, all he's thinking about is like to leave you. Tanya, Haya Rabbi Meir Omer, Keshem she'a'edut b'ma'achal. So there's different ways of like, it's like, what? She'adeot, thank you. We are like going to be comparing now food and drinks to like, behavior of women. I mean, that's like really very, very far-fetched to me, but it's like that's what it says. So sometimes you have husbands who are like treating their wives in that way. So kach deot benashim, right? Yesh lecha adam shezvuv nofel letoch kuso. So you have a man and he has like a fly that falls into his cup. Ve'zorko ve'eno shotehu. So he throws out the fly, and he also does not drink what it is that is like, that's in the kos. וזו היא מידת פפוס ben Yehuda. And so it's like, he's like, we're talking about like this פפוס ben Yehuda, שהיה נועל בפני אשתו ויוצא. What would he do? He would actually lock the door, like, really fast when he was going out so that his wife would not be able to leave the house. And it's like, basically he treated her like a prisoner. He would not allow her to talk about like any other man, because he was concerned that if he did, then she would actually engage in illicit relation.
I think there's time. So just to add, it's a famous Gemara in Megillah talks about how Haman says to the Jewish people, look how much they hate you. If a fly were to fall into their wine, they would just put their finger in and flick out the bug and then drink the wine. But you, Achashverosh, if you were to touch their cup, they'd have to throw the whole thing out. So it talks about this analogy of something disgusting inside of a cup.
Right. Interesting. Okay. ויש לך אדם שזבוב נופל לתוך כוסו וזורקו ושותהו. And so you have another guy who he has a fly that falls into his cup and he throws out the fly, but he drinks the drink. וזו היא מידת כל אדם. This is the way that most people actually behave. שמדברת עם אחיה וקרוביה ומניחה. It's like, if you have a wife like who actually wants to talk with her family, like her brothers, her relatives, or whatever, the husband lets her. It's like, what damage can it do? ויש לך אדם, then you have.
There's no problem with him talking to other men. They have to be relatives.
Right.
He does restrict her
to a certain.
Can't go to the kiddush after the shul.
Poor women, unless it's the kiddush that is separate men and women. ויש לך אדם, and you have like a man, the third kind of man, שזבוב נופל לתוך תמחויו, and ומוצצו ואוכלו. It's like, he actually eats the food and with the fly in it. So one of the things.
No, he doesn't. He sucked the fly in for the way. It's the most ugly thing to do.
Actually, yeah, it's like, the Marsha actually tells you that like the fly has dissolved into the food and he doesn't even know that it's there. Okay, all right. He midat adam ra. This is like a bad person. שרואה את אשתו יוצא, so he sees that his wife is actually leaving the house. וראשה קרוע, and she actually does not have her hair covered. וטובה בשוק, and she goes like, to spin her like thread in the marketplace on top of Amud Bet. ופרומה משני צדדיה. It's like, and she has like her clothes that is actually opened up on both sides. ורוחצת עם בני אדם, and she actually goes to like the bathing, the bathhouse, and she doesn't wait for all the men to actually go out until she goes in. She's there at the same time that they are. So this is definitely im bnei adam salka de'atah. You have someone, it's like, to get a man such as this, you think he's going to allow for his wife to actually be at the bathhouse together at the same time as the men? Obviously, that's an indication that she's not like, behaving properly. Ela b'makom shebnei adam rochatzin.
Rashi comment about the food. Like the French woman when go on the horse. That's the way they dress.
Actually, the French women on the horses were very, very covered. So that's very interesting.
Okay, I'll read you Rashi and I thought. Okay.
He describes them riding horses.
Huh?
Women riding horses.
Yeah, right. Rashi said when you target a foot, the women go with this kind of a foot, and you can see part of their body from the side.
Very interesting.
It's an interesting Rashi. Rashi says, I'm looking at the Psukim. The same Rashi. I look at the Psukim by the ephod. I don't understand it until I saw a woman riding a horse alongside me, and the way it was tied. That must have been the way the ephod was tied. So he couldn't figure it out, but he learned from
the Rashi HaKadosh. Will he see such a thing? But God make him to understand the word that food is being done.
Very
exposed. She was just tied in a certain way.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they had like layers upon layers. So anyway, all right, let's move on. It's like I believe you. I didn't read it. I believe you. So mitzvah min haTorah legarsha. So it's like, if you have a woman like that who goes to the bathhouse, she doesn't even wait until the men are out, and so she's there at the same time. That's grounds for divorce. Shne'emar ki matzava irvat ve'chole. Okay, it's like, he found her like in a state of like potential adulterous like relationship. Veshilcha mi beto. And so he's allowed at this point of time to send her away from like, from his house, meaning he's allowed to divorce her. So what happens if she goes and she gets married to another man? So it says like, it calls this guy different meaning he's not the first husband. It's like there's no one that is actually as good as the first husband. And why is that? Because if she behaved in a really bad way, who would want to actually marry her? So that means that the second husband might not be like, such a good guy. He doesn't really care about her morals as much as like he should. So when the first one removed this woman who he considers to be wicked because like, she behaved like inappropriately from his house, and this like, this guy, the second like husband, he brought her into his house and she's like a wicked person. So it's like, what kind of like a marriage is that? So the second husband, what happens, like, maybe he's going to find that actually she needs also to be sent away, and she needs to like, actually he needs to give her a divorce. It's like, the last man, meaning the second man, will despise her and send her away from his house. The imlav, if he actually does not divorce her, korvarto, so then she's going to bury him, meaning shene'emar o chi yamut aish aharon kedai hu b'mita. So it's like, the second husband, if like he doesn't leave her, she's going to be the death of him. She's going to behave like so badly, and everybody's going to be talking about them, and so he's going to be punished by death. Because if the first husband actually like, threw her out of her house, divorced her because she was so wicked, and the second one, he brought like this horrible woman into his house, that's definitely a huge issue. Ki sane shalach. So we have a pasuk that says, we send away the people, those that are like despised. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, im senata shelach. If you actually like hate her that much, then you need to actually send her away. This is the way that like, that's what Rabbi Akiva is saying, is that like, she lost favor in the eyes of her husband. And so he says that's the only thing that he needs to do is just send her away. Rabbi Yochanan Omer, sneu umeshalach. It's like, this like, if Hashem actually does not like it, that like a husband would actually divorce his wife without a good reason. So, which is what like Beth Hillel is saying basically. Velo plige. So there's like, two ways to look the two ways to look at this. Ha bezug rishon. The first one actually is referring to a first marriage when people are young and in love and like, looking like, at an amazing outlook on life. Ha bezug sheni. The second one is actually like about a second marriage, which may not be as amazing. And at the same time, she may be like actually married to someone after she has not behaved so amazingly. The Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Kol HaMeragesh Ishto Rishona, anyone who actually divorces his first wife, Afilu Mizbeach Morid Alav Maot, even like the Mizbeach actually is crying. Vezot Shenit Ta'asu, Kasot Dema'a Et Mizbeach Hashem. So it's like, because what happens is like the Mizbeach is covered with tears, right? The Tzitz Eliezer says that the Mizbeach is used to see people crying because what happens is when they bring korbanot, they say vidui, right? And they cry for the averot that they did. So it's not something that is uncommon for the Mizbeach to see. But when they actually see a young married couple that was, or rather a couple that married young and they get divorced, then it's really something that is that the Mizbeach has a very hard time to actually deal with. Okay, Bechi ve'anaka. So it's like, people are whipping and sighing. The Mizbeach is whipping and sighing on behalf of this couple. Ve'en od penot al hamincha. And it's like, the Mizbeach is not even interested in looking at whatever korbanot are being brought in. Ve'lakachat ratzon miyedechem. And it's like, it will take all the goodwill from you. Ve'amartem alma. Why is that? Al ki Hashem a'id benecha uvet eshet neurecha. Because it's like, Hashem, it's like, has seen you getting married to this young woman, way back when, and you had all your life in front of you, and asher ata begadeta ba. And it's like, the fact that you have divorced her, you actually have betrayed her. And though she was supposed to actually be your wife forever and ever. I'm going to say a number of shatim that are right at the about this, which are really beautiful. So the Marasha says that the word ish is aleph yud shin, right? So, and the word isha is actually aleph shin hey. So together they have Shem Hashem. They're supposed to have harmony, right? And if when they actually have bad relationship in between the two of them, there's esh. And so when there's esh that comes out, then it takes the Shekhinah away from themselves. And it's just like, the Mizbeach, it's that's represents the esh amachloket. So that's one thing. The Olot Ephraim says that in Parashat HaMizbeach, all the letters of the alphabet are present, except for two letters, the Gimel and the Tet. Gimel and Tet are get, okay? And it's the Mizbeach cannot stand the get. It's that's why the Mizbeach is actually shedding tears. So we learn that in the Parashat Bereshit, when Hashem actually created Adam and Chava, what did he do? He created them as one being, right? From afar, from from the earth of the Mizbeach. And so that's why when they actually separate, then it's the Mizbeach is really very upset, because it's it destroys whatever it is that he actually has taken from it. It also, the Mizbeach represents the simcha, when people are actually bringing korbanot to the Bet HaMikdash, right? They receive kapara for giving those korbanot, and that brings simcha. And the get is totally the opposite. It brings tears and cries and everything else. So
in Hebrew, we don't have any words with Gimel and Tet following.
Really?
Only the time when they have a Gimel and Tet coming together means separation.
Okay.
By the way, the Shulchan Aruch paskin lefi Bet Shammai in Ba'isha Rishona or Ba'isha Shniya, like Bet Hillel, whatever it is.
So two more things. So Grushin, it can be a divorce between a man and a woman, but also it could be the divorce in between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so we say we are being Messiah Masechet Grushim, which is another name for Masechet Gittin. And so we need Palel to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that there's no separation in between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Israel. And this is why it's we're really happy to do a siyum here to end that Grushim. And so we begin a time when we will be married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and where it's all of the world will be happy in we should be able to learn Torah, and we should be able to in the zechut of this limud Torah, we should be zoche Torah tziva lanu Moshe Hilat Yaakov, and we should become close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we should be those to inherit the Torah for the future generation, and we should have chaim tovim, chaim kulchem ayom. אדרן הלך המרגש, אדרן הלך המרגש, אדרן הלך המרגש.
רבינו תם, by the way, does not accept the ריש לקיש, וחולק על רש"י עם הפירושים האלה.